Beyond the fiscal conundrum this possesses, how can you justify this restriction of American values by taking away an individual's choice and mandating coverage?
Well, first I'd like to thank the debate committee and the dense staff for helping us out here tonight. But I think it's a central contradiction to say that America was founded on civil liberties and individual rights, and to ignore the fact that America was also founded on a tradition of welfare for our neighbors. If the founding fathers didn't care about their common man, the other people with them, they wouldn't have formed the kind of government we have today. We all care about all citizens, and it's the least that we can do to offer them basic health services. The universal health care buzzword that was being used in the question is necessarily a misnomer. The Nationalist Party wants to recommend basic services towards people who are uninsured, inoculations, well checkups, and then emergency medicine. We're not going to be offering all the intensive health care things that are going to be costing hundreds of thousands of dollars per person. I think that because the Nationalist Party cares about the common man, that we can help those who are making less, and then do it in a fiscally responsible way, which we can do with the progressive tax scale, which is going to increase the income of taxes on the higher end of the scale, but then also increase the taxes coming in from corporations. It's not going to cost nearly as much as people think, simply because the increased productivity and the increased happiness of the individual is going to be offset. It's really the only American thing to do. It's in the spirit of the Founding Fathers, and it's in the spirit of the Constitution. Thank you.
The American thing to do. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard when referring to universal health care. America is based on our economy. Do you know what this does to our economy? It rapes us of our ability to choose. That's what America is based on. We must have the right to choose our own organizations. As Americans, that's what we must stand up for. We must be able to choose our own policies, the prices we want to pay, the companies we want to use. I was in England a few years back, and my friends over there were telling me about their universal health care policies. It sounded amazing at first. We all get free health care. No one pays a dime. And I asked, well, what if you get sick? How long does it take to get in? 6 months to get into the emergency room. 6 months. That's how long the waiting list is on if everybody's on the same universal health care ticket. This is ridiculous. We have to have our choices. We have to have everyone being able to choose their own health care system, their own policy that's right for them. That's what America's based on. That's what makes us Americans. Our freedom to choose.
So many times, Americans don't have the ability to choose what's right for them. Americans don't have the income necessary to pay for their own health care. Americans never chose to be poor. Americans never chose to be impoverished and live in the inner city. It's those people who have had their ability to choose stripped away by their economic circumstances that we're trying to save this for. The idea that we're going to be implementing the England way of healthcare is a misnomer again. It's simply an employer-based basic health services. Thank you.
I'm Andrew Strasberg for the people of the American Way. My question will be aimed at the Federalist candidate for the office of governor. At a time when our state and country's economic competitiveness is in danger, education is more important than ever before. However, the cost of higher education is on the rise, and for poor and middle-class individuals, it is becoming increasingly difficult to afford college without accumulating large amounts of debt. What methods will your administration implement to eliminate, or at the very least, ease this financial burden?
All right, that's a very good question, and one that's important to me, and it should be important to all of you as we're moving into the age in our life and if we go into higher education. One issue that I've discussed is to make sure that you will be able to afford college education as far as planning-wise goes, is to be having a lock-in form of college tuition. Your freshman year, the price the university offers you then will be the price that's locked in for your junior, senior, and sophomore year. That's important so people will be able to plan for their future investment in their own education. So you'll be able to pay for your own way and you know what you have to set aside. Another way is to offer student loans. These are all over the place. We also need to focus on keeping the rates of student loans low. This is how people who aren't born into wealthy families and aren't able to get scholarships simply on merit or athletics are able to get an education. And that's important. We must have everyone educated for our future. That's where everything comes from. That's how we're going to further ourselves, is with educated people. Now, we must focus on keeping the rates low for student loans so people are able to pay them back eventually after they've moved on past the education and are furthering our society and joining the workforce. So they'll be able to pay back not only to society, but pay back to the student loans and gain the education we all need and we all deserve.
The Federalist Party platform has a pretty major contradiction. They don't want to raise taxes. In fact, they want to lower them. But they have no problem intruding upon the free market of the college system. They want to provide loans to people. Where are they going to get that money? Well, certainly not through taxes. If they're going to decrease the amount of money that they're going to gain in revenue, there's no possible way that they can give out those loans at any reasonable rate. Additionally, they completely screw over the entire free market by locking in loans at a certain interest rate. What if the economy fluctuates? Are those colleges going to go bankrupt? Or can bankrupt colleges actually provide an adequate education? Certainly not. The Nationalist Party platform allows for better education through teacher retention and building competent universities and secondary education facilities in every single county. That's what we'd like to achieve, and we can do that because we have the funds available. Don't let them get away with having two different stories and a totally big contradiction about the free market. Thank you.
The free market, the most important thing we have in America. That's not something we should intrude upon. He's absolutely right in saying that. Whenever I said student loans, I meant student loans applied by state universities, ones that we're all paying for, and we should all have the right to choose if we want to lock in the rates that come from our tax dollars anyway. We're paying for our education with our tax dollars to state schools. I think we should have the choice to decide if we want to lock in our rates at our state schools for the loans we're paying for. It's only fair since we're already paying ridiculous sums in taxes to pay for these schools, and then we have to pay tuition on top of our state schools. Thank you.
Sam Wessels, the National Rifle Association, for the Nationalist Governor candidate. Due to the rigorous screening process in the conceal and carry legislation, those who receive the license carry with them an understanding of the responsibility that they have undertaken. Conceal and carry laws give the potential to diffuse or prevent violent situations such as the Virginia Tech shootings. Why do you not support policies that would help Kansans protect themselves in places where they are legally allowed to be, but are currently not allowed to protect themselves from these violent situations?
Well, I guess the question is supposing that the state level has any say in where guns can be carried. That's a federal issue, so we can't actually affect where guns are going to be carried. But regardless of that fact, even if they could, we would support their ability to take them onto college campuses and into areas in which they can be protected from other people. The idea that you have the right to defend yourself is central to the Nationalist platform. We want to build a coalition of strong communities, strong cities, in which people can live in a safe environment. The deterrence that guns allow us to have is actually a very big thing, a very important thing for the safety of the community at large. We would support any sort of legislation that's going to allow this to move into a much safer environment for any people who want to carry guns. That's in the Constitution. We have the right to have guns. We have the right to defend ourselves. And if that means that we're going to be able to defend ourselves at a college campus or in our homes or wherever we need to be, that's where we're going to do it. Additionally, the Nationalist Party supports legislation, or actually the lack of legislation, banning automatic rifles. It's that idea that we have all the rights that we need that are given to us within the Constitution at any level, including the state, including the county, including the city, that actually makes this Nationalist Party so great, because we want to fulfill your rights and your expectations as citizens not only of this country, but of the state. Thank you.